just made right now where I appear in the same outfit, which is actually almost the same outfit as the previous live a day ago. It's not the same, but it's similar. But I just wanted to actually land a couple points because I didn't quite articulate the point I was reaching for in that prior video, and that one too. I started that prior video trying to land one from the one before. But what I was saying is that according to Osho, is that all that we do in life is we more so do it out of fear because we're afraid to die. That's what makes us want to do things, both cool things and also cowardice, is because we're afraid to die. So you actually go to war, it almost gets your ass killed because you actually want to really live, but you want to have a legacy, or you want to like have the favors or the esteem and even the safety that comes from being a badass person and having like cred and skills and dangerous and shit like that. So you actually go closer and sometimes even lose life untimely by actually being afraid of death, according to Osho. But then this person that came on JRE, Joe Rogan, he was saying that where that comes from is the ancestral experiences of human beings. Is like nowadays when people go out at night, you got to be afraid of like all this dangerous shit that's out in the streets and shit. Like both the good guys, the cops and robbers, they got the same shit. Kill somebody ass and kill someone just about as quick. And also even the regular Joe's got that dangerous shit too, if not better. And our good go is not better, but um so you got to duck for that stuff. But actually that fear that you have going out at night is because way back in the day you would have been afraid of them, whatever type of leopards actually, of you would have been afraid of being stalked by cats. Your fear at night, your hesitance at night, your equivocation, reservation for going out at night, even as you don't have clear and is, I don't mean to mock people that would struggle with speech, but even as I was just trying to laugh past that, but even as you would have people that you have no reason, no clear present reason to have reservations going on night. You also have air and opportunity. So air and opportunity is actually the most dangerous thing. So you wherever you have air and opportunity, but also you're afraid for having nothing but air and opportunity and night on your hands, it's because of the activity of cats, but also leopards back in the day. So on a deep level, on the psyche level, near about, I don't know what you hear sometimes about the lizard brain, like the actual the I think that's the hypo. There's a part of your body that's concerned with fight or flight and fornication, fight, flee, fornicate, and all a lot of your decisions come down to that. But deeper than that, in why you would want to or need to or have to or get to or like to fight, flee, and fornicate is because of your fear of death, and that is most prominently off of cats, according to this person that appeared on JRE, leopards. So you um you so I don't know if you would say the lizard brain or the actual like the caveman brain. I don't know what you actually call like that distinction of like it's not exactly lizard brain because that far back you wouldn't necessarily have, you would have leopards because they also probably developed from like mammals and then like reptiles before that, similar, and maybe fish before that, something like that. But and then all the way back, it's fungus in the first place. The actually the culprit, the what came first, the chicken or the egg? Neither had been, fungus came first. I said that for the record. Did I just get one off, or does anyone give a damn, or did it make a difference whether I would have said that or someone else? What came first, the chicken or the egg? Um, can't really say the farmer because chicken and eggs probably go back further than the farmer. But as long as you would get to me a chicken or egg, it had been the farmer that came first. But what came before the chicken, the egg, and the farmer, and then the chicken, the egg before that was actually fungus all the way back, before even trees, before algae. It may be algae or part of that, but similar. There's a book I picked up a random book at a library recently, and it's saying that a lot of our life is because of algae. Like it's that damn it. That's the actual insight right there. This book I picked up a book about algae for no reason at a library, and that book was saying that algae has more to do with your life now than you can appreciate. Algae is the unifying principle of all that you would be sustained with, your sustenance, and all the dynamics of your life that make you a living, viable organism, being, person, human. It's because of algae. That's what this book said. But then I actually met a person at the store, at a gas station. I was trying this little half cock, half, not to be facetious, but half ass, half baked humor around an actual like Pinkerton style security person at a gas station, because I'll just engage whoever I feel inspired with a joke around. And he was impressed by that. He talked for me for like 4 hours in front of everybody that came to the damn gas station, sounding like I sound on this video in front of people's ass at a gas station. And we weren't really messed up about that, but it's not always a good look. We were saying that actually fungus is the realest shit. And you couldn't imagine what life would have been like 20,000 years ago. Because like you said in some of your, I told him what I said in some of my videos, is that I would figure that human beings would have been eating one the other with that much of deprivation of food. And he's saying, yeah, likely that's true. That's true, but it would have been more so people being eaten for the sake of women and children, because there's always been that same precedence on progeny. That is the beauty and the bounty that is family, women and children specifically. But so he's saying that yeah, life is also the realest shit now and then, but especially then, like 20,000 years and beyond. You can imagine this place you're at, that you're calling Minnesota, that you're calling the land of 10,000 lands. You can imagine that shit 20,000 years ago, but it was here, and there were people here, and that shit had been real. But he's saying before, way before the hell, all that had been fungus. So that's actually a correlation. What he said within this book that I picked up within the last couple of weeks, saying that algae is the real shit. But I don't know the actual distinction between algae and fungus, but they're very similar seeming, and I bet you it's near about the same thing. What he's talking about. And he's saying is way deeper and more intelligent than you. Intelligent isn't the right word for it, but it's the closest we can come to it would be intelligent, but it's way the hell beyond intelligent what algae fungus is. But it's interesting because most things have a counterpart. So whatever the bad part of that or the wicked part of that, or the counterpart of that, that would also temper it and tame it and make it viable through contrast. That would be pretty hella mean too. Meaner than plants, meaner than a bad trip would be whatever that fundamental primordial fungus is in that mode. That would be inimical or like taxing and punishing and detrimental and pathological in the strict medical sense, not with imbuing values and ethics. When you say pathological, just whatever, because you actually need you can't have life without pathology. You can't have life without biology, but you also can't have biology without pathology, because pathology is the actual buoyancy and the counterpart and the recycling and the tempering, and it actually prompts growth. Likely, a lot of decay is probably a function of growth itself, may be a form of decay, and decay may be a form of growth. It's very profound. You can't say what's light or dark, up and down, hot or cold, east or west, night or day, in the strictest sense, because things are that balanced and tempered like that. But profound and transcendent, such as also life, such as also life and death, light and dark, without the ethical or moral preconceptions and assignments with that. And then also probably whatever prompts his life and sustains it, as profound and intelligent and vast and deep as solemn as it is, and efficient and excellent, is probably equally whatever the opposite counterpart is. Otherwise, we wouldn't have life. But life is barely possible. It's possible, but barely possible. Sometimes I watch this video at one of my clients. She had like a Scientologist. She had a lot of religious references and resources that she procured in the forms of videos. But she had one that was like a religious scientist, and he's saying if you know how sophisticated the balances of the seasons, of the angles of the planet, the sun, the juxtaposition of heat and cold and stuff like that, it's damn near impossible for life to happen, but it is possible. And it makes people wonder if life actually exists on any planet beyond Earth, and it's actually questionable if the conditions for life are viable anywhere but Earth. I think that it would be bogus to say it's not on beyond Earth, because if you look at life at Earth itself, it's teeming with life, and life is not limited in anything. Life is not limited by the surface of the Earth, by the air of the Earth, by what's in the Earth, and then at different layers through that as we can and can't perceive. And probably not the least beyond that and finer than that. Life is good to go. It's viable. It's possible, likely, because it's present at every range and vicinity we can conceive or reach. There's always some form of life there. However, but then there's a different question: is what is sentience? According to Arthur Avalon, you have wherever you have mind, you have matter. Wherever you have matter, your mind. There's no experience of matter without mind, but also no experience of mind without matter. So they are different ranges and degrees and modes and thickness or rates and cadence of one the other, mind and matter. So as much as there's matter in space, there's damn more mind in space according to the Eastern position, but also probably likely organic life, so similar like us, but different, kind of like family, like cousins, similar and different. Um, but um, uh, but it um, but the deeper question is your understanding of sentience. And most people, even people that would be versed in erudite, even educated at high seats of learning, they would struggle to convincingly or succinctly, neatly lay to enunciate what sentience is. And if you, I could attempt it, but it wouldn't be thorough on here. But you can get closer with that with some of the works of Arthur Avalon, such as "The World as Power," where he makes those statements about I think he wrote that under the name of Sir John Woodrow, but it's the same person, the pseudonym of Arthur Avalon, and who was an actual knight, Sir John Woodrow, Justice of the High Court of India, but also knighted in England. And he talks about sentience clearly, but even with him, you'd have to actually have your own understanding of that because you're probably your own form of sentience, and you would have your own take on that personally, and that would actually hold weight up next to him or anything else that would call itself or think itself or get to be sentient. Your actual take on that and experience of sentience is on par with that and can go toe to toe with that if you would think about it and reason it enough. If you would ever have an interest or reason to do so, to my take. So some things aren't defined because they're not anyone's to define except who's experiencing that as they experience. But uh um but so according to Osho, all that we do is from fear. But then on the deeper level, the scientists on JRE, it's because of leopards and what that did to our psyche as we developed the fear and the realities of being stalked by these cats, but especially leopards, in their modes of engaging people in their tactics. But then I'm saying that the world ended. The coolest thing that was going on in the world before the pandemic 19 was actually the who was the biggest gangster in MMA, Nate Diaz of the West Coast, or uh, um, uh, uh, Jorge Masvidal of the East Coast, Florida. But Jorge Masvidal appeared on that was on the helm. They actually made their own belt for that. They made their own, so that's how you know it's the coolest shit in the world. Then because the UFC, which is like a kind of like very standard traditional thing, even though it's like this new fighting thing, had been then only like 20 years old by then, or 20 years popular, 20 30 years popular. They made their own belt, the BMF belt, Bass Motherfucker belt. That was the coolest, broadest. That was in Madison Square Garden. I watched MMA this many years, but I damn well paid to tune into that one. They got me on the hook for that one, BMF belt. But they had so much history. Like Nate Diaz, he'd been in so many fights that his face cut really soon in that fight. And that's actually when you get people bad enough, they actually got some scars they've been hiding, or some they actually have some been compromised already. But it's so great. Jorge Masvidal versus Nate Diaz, if you know their actual background, what led up to that. But that's coming on the helm of a viral knockout that Jorge Masvidal did in that summer of actually near that person that he knocked out. They share a birthday with a person who's close to me, and they actually were knocked out around that time of year, their own very birthday, as I can extrapolate. And it was a viral knockout. If you remember a flying knee, a famous flying knee around that time, but it's still impressive to this day. And poignant, that person, their life changed with that flying knee, and they were it was in it. They I don't think their disposition wasn't the same after that because there was a these different fightings, like sometimes they'll do some trash talking, but I actually tuned in for the trash talking before that flying knee. I hadn't always kept up with MMA, but somehow that one in that summer of 19, I somehow was watching that as it was going on. It wasn't famous, or like you had to like be. There's a person named Tony Ferguson who coined the term. He coined the term Dana White, as in the leader of MMA is called of UFC, President Long, almost like the some of these professional wrestlings, they have like these famous owners that are very comical, and they're really part of the promotion a lot. Their personality and their badassery and stuff like that, like Mahanan, something with an M, but also Dana White is like that. But then he also gets to call the shots and pick fights, and sometimes impact people's opportunities and futures or the end of their careers. And one of these formidable fighters of his, old and renowned, called him Dana White privilege. So when he's giving these fighters like a pat on the back, or not giving a pat on the back, or an opportunity or not, he's calling that Dana White privilege. He coined that, but he also coined the term casual, as in like casual fans versus like real connoisseurs and maestros. And